Welcome to this rapid game. Let's get going. Tim M. I have played him before in this rapid pool. 1 win. Okay. Yeah, I wonder if there's something else that I can try. Besides my usual knight c3. I can go for the Fear and Shadow system, but it's really not my usual line. Okay, so again, the Grunfeld, I studied this system a couple of months ago. Black currently is okay in that line, but that is pretty much true for the whole Grunfeld anyway. So if you don't have a brilliant line against this opening, it's just the same for all of the top players. c5 is actually not that great, I believe. Okay, let's take it. Queen a5 now, it's the only real move there. So cd5, he will play knight d5, queen d5, bishop c3, rook c1. And now black has a choice. I mean, okay, black can play that, it's not terrible, but I think castles is probably a little bit more solid there. Yeah, now d takes c4 is the move that black normally chooses. Knight e4 is also possible. Has been played by Kasparov and Fischer, but nowadays is a little bit under a cloud. cd5, knight c3, queen d2 seems to be better for white with more than one line actually. There is also castles, but that seems a bit dicey maybe. Yeah, that is the solid move. Take here, and now black has to castle first. If he goes queen c5, knight b5 wins immediately. It's a little trap, and if that happens, this game will end relatively quickly, as white is threatening both bishop takes f7, winning the queen, and knight c7. So queen c5, knight b5 is just ending the game. Has happened in strong players' games. Yeah, here white has mostly two moves: knight to f3 or knight to e2. Knight to e2 is the sharper line, but I don't know it. I simply don't know it. And I have studied knight f3, so I'm going to go for that. Yeah, now white has this these annoying knight d5 ideas. So yeah, exactly. Black normally moves the queen again. Castles. As it happens quite often in the Grunfeld, it can be a little bit of a memory contest. Yeah. What did I look at here? Was it queen e2? Queen e2 or h3? Huh. Wow, I absolutely cannot remember. Queen e2, there was an idea with h3 and g4. Wow, okay. Yes, let's think about it. Is it queen e2 here, really? Or h3? I wonder about knight h5, if this is an option after queen e2, but I think bishop g5 is probably okay. h6, bishop h4, g5. Might even have knight d2 then. Okay, but that's a tricky business. Or is it h3 in this position? I don't really know. It might be a transposition if I play h3. Is e5 something that might happen? Now, if you have to play over the board against the Grunfeld, it's a bad idea. You should really know what's going on. I don't remember. Okay, I'm playing queen e2 here, but it might as well be that it's h3 is right. h3 gives me some additional h2 square. Bishop f5. I mean, but queen e2 is a move, definitely. Queen e2, bishop f5, rook d1, knight e4. He goes for e5. So maybe I made a mistake, huh? Maybe. So bishop g5 I cannot play. I have to go to g3. Bishop g5, this e4. Oh wait, I can actually play it. Bishop g5, e4, bishop f6, ef3, queen f3, and I'm protecting this. This makes bishop g5 a clear candidate, as it would give me additional ideas of taking on f6 and putting a knight on d5. In general, White's play here is based on his better development. Bishop g5, e4, bishop f6, ef, queen takes. Yeah, there's no problem there. It's just a pawn. So yeah, then bishop g5 is probably stronger than bishop g3. Knight h5, is that an idea? I got knight d5. Yeah, knight h5 is a strange move anyway. Just to avoid the capture, but yeah, it's not that big a deal. Not quite sure what he should play now. What move? It's not clear to me. Well, e4 is not working. Bishop g4, there's h3, and I'm probably just better. Yeah, I guess so. h3, maybe e4 is a move, but takes on g4, takes... That's quite strange. Okay, bishop g4, I can... Everything else fails, I can take f6. Bishop f5. Bishop f5. He goes there. Okay, so now h3, which looks totally normal. There's there's e4. Yeah? That's a bit of a problem. So I have to take I guess. And now it's interesting. I have, well, bishop f6 is forced. He takes his time though. So now I have knight d5, I also have knight e4, and I have h3. Yeah, but h3 is just going to be a good move, I guess. Well, where is he going? To f5 he gets kicked again. Bishop e6 is entirely off. I would take it, play knight to e4, that's a strategic win almost. Bishop to d7 runs into rook d1. Okay, not terrible, but it's a tempo. And also an additional idea is always knight e4 and then possibly to c5. So if I go on bishop d7, maybe like rook d1, rook d8, knight e4, something like that. Yeah, that looks pretty okay. That looks okay for white. Maybe bishop f5 is an option, simply intending to provoke e4 so that the knight may hop to d4 for some counterplay ideas. After bishop f5, I have a couple of options though. I can also go knight d2 for knight d2 e4 next. Quite interesting. Yeah, I think white is definitely a bit better here. Even though I had to give up the bishop pair, but f6, that bishop on f6 is just not very good, and the weakness there on d5. That d5 square and the open, very open long diagonal b3 over to f7. This can be a problem. Yeah, it's not an easy decision, especially bishop f5 comes into consideration. I can even consider to go g4 after bishop f5. That's not completely off. Tja. If he takes on f3, queen takes is a tempo. And queen on f3 is also lining up together with the bishop on b3 on that f7 pawn. That's a very uncomfortable position. Note how important it is really that the pawn is on e5. If the pawn, black's pawn, would be on e6, which is, okay, purely theoretical discussion. It never could have been like that out of this opening here, but just imagine black's pawn being on e6. Then black would probably just take on f3, drop bishop back to e7 or something, and then it's totally okay for him. It's symmetrical and nothing in particular happening. Yeah, as I said, even g4 is interesting here. It's really interesting, as if he goes e4, yeah, I go knight d2 and just win that pawn. And that's no real compensation for black. So g4, he has to move that bishop again. It's very tempting. e4 is also interesting, definitely. But the knight on e4 can be a real interesting idea. However, e4, bishop d7, let's say, knight d5, bishop g7. Now, it's not so clear what I'm doing after that. It looks very nice, but what is my actual play? On the other hand, g4, he might have h5 at some point. It's difficult to do for black. Okay, let's do it. If he goes e4, I have knight d2 and win the e4 pawn. So that's not happening. Unless he decides to just to the heck with it and activate the bishop there on g7. But it's never going to be full compensation. Bishop d7 is very likely to happen. And then I was thinking probably rook d1, rook f d1. Knight e4 also comes into consideration, of course. Bishop d7, rook f d1, rook a d8 probably. Huh? Yeah, it's still fairly solid, huh? It's not like he's falling apart quickly. So knight e4. Knight e4 here, maybe. Knight d6 can be a real nuisance. Or rook d1. It's still a rapid game. Let's do it, come on. Bring that rook into the game. It's very unlikely to be a bad move, let's say. Maybe it's not the absolute best move, but it's not a bad move. Pretty sure about that. So the question is, am I going to play... Yeah, that is actually giving up on covering that f7 pawn. And this can be a factor. Let's check on that. I can try knight e4, knight g5. Very direct approach. Knight e4, bishop e7. Bishop e7. Knight g5. Ah, that's good. Let's do that. And that's just half of the story. I still have some other ideas. I can also go after bishop e7. I can do something like rook d5 as well. Rook d5, rook cd1. But knight g5 actually looks good. Knight g5. Knight f to g5. So that queen f3 is an additional idea. Let's do that, come on. Sorry for my voice there. Yeah, bishop e8, queen f3. Yeah, he has to take that bishop, that knight. Otherwise, f7 is going to collapse. This is why I always thought rook a d8 instead of rook f d8. I always thought that black had to cover f7 a little bit. That bishop f4 system against the Grunfeld is a pretty decent choice if you want a safe line. It's against the Grunfeld, it's difficult to find a line that is just playing for two results, yeah, where you can press a little bit without any risk. The bishop f4 line comes close to that. It's relatively solid and sound, and still carries a little bit of punch. So queen f3, or is there something better? Queen f3 is good. Let's not be too sophisticated here. That is just a good move, I think. f7. I think he probably has to take that on g5 and then play queen c7. After which there's a number of interesting options. Simplest probably being knight back to e4 and then sinking the knight to f6. It's not clear that this is so fantastic, but check. It looks okay. It's probably accommodating that he trades this. Or is rook d8 a defense, actually? No, I have bishop f7, no. So that's not really happening. So then rook takes d1 cannot help him. It's very hard to believe. On the other hand, it's not clear if there is some way to benefit. So bishop g5, knight g5, queen c7. Is there something great that I can do? Don't see it. Yeah, probably knight back to e4 then. For knight f6, I really don't see how else to make any headway. Queen g3 is interesting though, for queen h4. That is an interesting move. Yeah, so he had to take. Before we automatically recapture, let's think for one moment. I wonder... No. Rook d7 is a flashy move, but I don't think it's working. He can play bishop e7 back. Otherwise interesting. Okay. So queen c7 will happen. So is queen g3 an idea for queen h4? It's definitely not bad. Queen g3. Queen g3. How is he defending against this queen h4 business? King g7 maybe. Queen h4, h6. Knight e4. And it's never really great for him. It's always a bit of suffering. Still, it's not so easy to determine what the best how I make him suffer the most. Knight e4 is definitely not bad either. Queen g3, rook d8. Takes it, queen take. No, queen g3, king g7, and that's really the only defense there. He's in forking distance, knight e6, but I don't see a tactic to use it. Queen h4, h6, knight e4, maybe even queen e7 is playable. I mean, it's not great, but it might be just about okay. That is good for white. There's a couple of good options. Queen f6 also looks kind of attractive. Threatens knight e6. That's a nice threat, actually. Queen f6, let's say he does a stupid move. a6, can I have knight e6 and win? Fe, bishop takes, bishop f7, rook d7, and black resigns. But queen f6, he has rook d8. And after that, I have no real great move. Rook d8, knight d8. Passive, but it seems to hold. Knight e4, rook d8, knight f6 check. King. Okay, come on, let's do it. Maybe I missed something here, but okay, it's really too hot to not drink anything. Someone recently sent me a message that those drinking sounds are a problem. Yeah, I understand that is irritating, but I really have to drink something. 20 minutes of non-stop talking when it is pretty hot outside. So, what is he going to play? Is rook d8 playable in the first place? Knight f6 check. King g8. Rook d8, knight f6 check, king g7. Rook d8, queen d8. Yeah, might be. I mean, then after g5, I'm in good shape. Okay. Knight f6. Knight f6 looks very normal. King g7. I wonder then, this knight d5, it's for possible knight c7. Okay, let's do it. And I can still think of alternatives. Yeah, knight d5 is good, huh? Queen g5, there's just knight c7 and he falls apart. So he cannot go there. And where is he going actually after knight d5? It's not so clear. To f8. Maybe. That doesn't look very attractive. After king g7, is there anything else? At g5 there's rook d8. Yeah, that leads nowhere. So over here, and if he goes, let's say, to g5, then knight c7 wins outright. Rook hangs, and after rook move, knight d8, queen f7, and he resigns. He has to keep f7, I think, covered somehow. So, yeah, maybe queen d8, even though that looks scary. Queen d8 looks really scary, but maybe I don't have a convincing move against that. It pretty much has to go to d8, huh? Or f8. Okay, f8. But then queen f6 looks very scary. Yeah, so it should be. He went there. Knight c7. What am I not seeing here? Yeah, knight c7. There is no intermediate move. No. Okay. After queen d8, I didn't have a clear way, I think. I didn't see a clear way. There's certainly a couple of ways to improve the position, because black is, I mean, pretty much tied down. But probably no clear way of really refute that. Maybe h4 would have been an idea. Yeah, queen d8 and h4 cannot take because of knight c7. I'm intending g5, knight f6. Maybe. I mean, black is under quite substantial pressure, so yeah, he simply has no move now. It's always check him. Knight e8 check, queen f7 check. He loses the house now. And the bishop f4 line is something that is a pretty safe option. Black has some ways to equalize for sure, but it's a good alternative for white players who want a relatively simple, safe approach to the Grunfeld, which is difficult to come by. Yeah? There are many very sharp lines, and it's not so much a problem that they are sharp, it's a problem that they are sharp and quite often don't lead to anything. Black is quite often just actively placed in those sharp main lines, so sometimes it's not a bad idea against such a forcing sharp opening as the Grunfeld to find something relatively safe, because quite often the black players who are looking for a dynamic struggle, they on the other hand struggle with slowish types of games. And well, here this open variation with c5 and so on is not particularly dull, but it's something that if you are well prepared with white, you can basically play without risking anything.
Black resigns.
Yeah, and with good reason. Yeah, so let's have a look at this. As I said, this is a theoretical position, and here I really wasn't sure if you start queen e2 or h3. I really couldn't remember, so I went with this. Knight h5 might be an argument against my move. It's really possible. I wasn't sure, and I didn't want to spend even more time there. I was thinking bishop g5 could be okay. Yeah, something like this. I don't know here. I might have this move. I know, sorry, if he takes this, he's he's covering there. So knight d2 is not even possible. Rook d1 is, however, a possibility. Quite funny. Okay, he went d5. I don't really believe in that move so much. I really think he's got some problems now with those light squares. And bishop g4 is probably giving me a bit too much. Yeah, the engine also gives the capture. I pretty much have to. Yeah, h3. I would like to play that move, but he's got e4, and this is not. I mean, this is not losing material quickly, but definitely not what I want. h3 has to be preempted by the capture first, then h3. Yeah, and now he's sitting there with a choice that's not very comfortable. Yeah, if we start with the ugliest move, this is leading to a strategic disaster. Yeah, those pawns are terribly weak, and this is an eternal knight. Fantastic position. Queen c4 is probably even winning stuff there on e6. Yeah, that will win. That's total rubbish. So, what did he do? He went here, right? Yeah, so bishop d7, that was what I expected most. And I was thinking here, rook d8 and knight e4 or knight d5. That's difficult to say. Would have been interesting to figure out. I was thinking knight e4, but the engine actually gives knight d5 as better. Yeah, interesting. There are always tactics, yeah, like this move, whoosh. Yeah, here's quite a lot of stuff is hanging here. White's pieces are super active, so bishop g7 and then knight g5 is interesting. Putting pressure here and intending knight e4. Yeah, that's huge pressure with pieces. The engine is giving White a win already. 1.7. Wow. It looks dangerous. I still thought he would go back there, but he went to f5 and I put out g4. Yeah, and now, yeah, he has to go bishop d7. There's really not much else. Or bishop c8. The engine gives bishop c8. Yeah, not a good sign. So, yeah, e4, knight d2. Well, that's just giving me that pawn. So that cannot be great. Bishop back and just rook d1. Yeah, engine agrees. And now it wants to play bishop c8. And this is, yeah, exactly. I played completely. I followed the engine here basically. Here, Queen F3.
Check.
Takes here. Knight E4. Wow, I'm playing pure engine moves here. That's cool. Maybe I'm getting reported here.
Check.
King G7. Oh, okay, now the engine wants to go G5 and not Knight D5. I couldn't really. I wasn't sure if maybe if after that, if I'm having such a great continuation. The engine gives this with 1.8. That's quite a bit. I mean, black is pretty much paralyzed. That's true. I mean, he doesn't have anything great that he can do. A computer already wants to do stuff like this.
Check.
And white wins, basically. Is that really already necessary? I mean, it's possible. I have this kind of idea. And what is black doing against it? And sometimes I can take on E8, Queen F6 check. Yeah, G5 is probably really strong. But okay, was that bad? Okay, G5 is stronger. He has to go to D8 here. Yeah, probably I'm winning. I'm gaining some time with the immediate G5. I was thinking Queen D8 only move, and then I was thinking H4, intending G5, and then Knight F6 again. Here he has this, however. And this idea. Okay, that helps him quite a bit. The engine goes down to almost equal. Yeah. What does it give additionally? This move. Yeah, this is something that I also had considered, intending G5. Yeah, G5 was stronger. It was really stronger here. I did not really appreciate how good that is. I mean, it is clear that white is in command, but it's really awful. It's really awful for black. Yeah, what I mean, just taking material here. That's a very frustrating move. Attacking here, yeah, something like this is
check.
Just winning stuff. Quite nice. Yeah. Okay, so he went to G5 though, and after which Knight C7 just wins the house after a rook move.
Check.
Yeah, I'm winning.
Check.
I'm winning everything. Yeah, that was a nice win out of the Grunfeld Bishop F4 line. As I said, it's an interesting line for white players looking for something relatively risk-free. Okay, well, thanks for watching.